Welcome back to Worlds 2022. For our first feature matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, we have a spicy game between Europe and North America. Representing North America, we have the LCS Spring Champions, Evil Geniuses, led by their rookie Jojopyun.
Now mid lane! Oh, Avadaga! He's in trouble! Jojo with the perfect healing!
They will be facing off against a team that has had to constantly overcome adversity when it comes to international tournaments, Fnatic.
Humanoid misses the abscond and Dutch as well, but Humanoid dives onto Trippy, that's one! He's looking to make it three, can he make the outplay to win the game? That's two! Humanoid, you absolute monster!
In this opening Mercedes featured matchup, we'll not only get our first glimpse of what the world's meta will develop into, but we'll also see who will strike first between Western rivals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Worlds of Play-In. It's time for our featured matchup presented by Mercedes, the classic battle of West versus East. With that being said, or no, just the West, not the East. It's just the two Western regions. These teams will look a little bit different today, though. As we pull up the rosters, we'll start on the Fnatic side of things. It's been quite a bit of the talk within the community, the fact that Fnatic would be playing without their full roster. Lucky to be able to bring in Upset at the final moment, but Hilly still a day behind due to COVID, will be arriving with the team ideally to play on stage tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, like we just saw in the promo, right? Sadly for Fnatic, not really a new situation for them having to lean back on subs coming in. Great that Upset is here, but I think even looking at Fnatic overall, right? Them coming into the year, not only into Summer Split, but with this roster, right? Wunder coming over from G2, Razork coming from Misfits, Humanoid in the mid lane, who was definitely a top 2 mid laner in the LEC last year. I think it's a bit strange how they ended up getting to Worlds, right? They come into summer, they barely even qualify. I think in their last week, only like 10% of scenarios had them making it, and then they had to go on that 3-series miracle run.
Yeah, they had to basically win all of their games at the end of the regular season, and then they had to win 3 consecutive best-of-5s to get into this spot. They lost their 4th best-of-5, so they weren't the LEC champions, but definitely a sigh of relief to be at the World Championship that immediately gets pulled back in and turns into anxiety when they realize that if they don't win this group, they will then have to win a best-of-5, maybe region kill against Mad Lions, or maybe up against a team like DRX.
They're gonna be the team that kicks out DRX for me, for my prediction.
This game, right, with 4/5 of their intended roster, is likely the most important playing game that they will face.
Yeah, I think that is super important to highlight. The stakes of this matchup, one, because as we've mentioned, it's a single round robin. So just every matchup matters that much. But because their first matchup is against EG, who most consider to be the other top favorite in this group, winning this one here, trying to secure that 1 seed so you can bypass any of those best-of-5s, they would like a much shorter road to groups than their road was to play-ins, I think.
First place is by far the most important thing in any of these groups, and it's not like EG is all roses either.
Exactly. So while we talk about Fnatic having to play without one of their main starters, it's a similar situation for EG, albeit slightly different.
Yeah.
They had to make this adjustment going into finals weekend regionally here in the LCS. Danny, the AD carry, the sophomore AD carry for Evil Geniuses, stepping down due to mental health reasons, and we had Kaori slotting in. Now, while they would not pick up the LCS championship, Jat, he had some impressive individual performances in a best-of-5 final situation in front of a crowd as a rookie.
Yeah, his Lucian play was awesome in this series. Once they banned Lucian, he wasn't able to continue. They had about 2 days worth of practice before this, which is going to be the situation Fnatic is in now. So this isn't going to be the EG roster that went 15-3 in Summer Split, but they at least have had more time to try and gel with the new look than Fnatic will have had. But you can see this was a very close competitive series. They actually demolished a couple of games like this one that was on screen. So still very capable. They still have the MVP and Inspired. They still have JoJo. They have Impact. They have so many powerful players.
I also just have some curiosities because, again, as we talk about his Lucian performances being really solid, he was also the player on EG that was more akin to playing picks like Kalista or Draven, and we've seen already from that first pick ban phase, those were the picks that were going straight to the ban table, the ones that people consider to be strong right now. So who knows? This might be a meta suited towards Kaori. But I love where you're talking, or you're going to the other players around the map, because that is kind of what EG was charged with in losing Danny, was everyone else has to now cover for this hole that is left in the roster. And so I guess the question is, like, when you look at somebody like Inspired, right, a phenomenal player, like, what can he bring to the table today? An MVP across both of the regions that are represented here in this matchup.
I feel like his resume just speaks for himself just based off that note, right? He's able to get so much work done, and it's crazy to me because, like, when I watch EG, he's not necessarily the most, like, insane, super aggressive jungler. He's smart. He, like, picks the right moments, knows when to play around, you know, which lanes have prio. Typically, you know, it was a lot around that bottom side. But I feel like Inspired just does such a good job at picking those perfect moments.
First, the wording here is weird. First double major region regular season MVP. Definitely, but that's still a crazy stat.
It is nuts.
Both summer splits going into Worlds. I also got to call out, like, the rest of the team. It's interesting what EG had to do in playoffs, because even when they were playing with Danny in playoffs, they were still playing a different style than they played for the majority of the regular season. So I really want to see how the rest of the team steps up and who they define to be their carry in this. And is it going to be Jojo? You know, is kind of my question, because Impact, while he has had some games where you can play around him with Renekton, is traditionally just such a powerful tank and frontline player, and it would be Jojo's time to shine. He is a player, to me, that seems very unaffected by pressure, right? He definitely has the ability to have a not caring attitude, which is very important when you have all the history and baggage that comes with NA versus EU matchups.
And, you know, I feel like JoJo's just the most exciting player to come out of NA in years, whether it's on the Rift or online.
Or off,
Exactly. The things that he says.
Whether you play Singed and Champions Queue and Trolls People.
I don't think this is the game where we get it, by the way. But I would love it.
I do also want to just give that small highlight to Impact, because I feel like one thing just throughout his career, which I guess something you would know very well, is it feels like internationally, it feels like he does always just, like, step up that little bit more than, like, what you see domestically. So it'd be pretty cool if we do get, you know, Impact maybe with, you know, a bit of a carry look in some games.
We have similar conversations even domestically between regular season and playoffs for Impact, and I've heard Jat talk about it in the past. I mean, especially when you have a player who's with a career as long, you know, as Impact's, like, you have to manage your energy.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't go 100% the whole year. That's where we see issues of burnout. And it does feel like part of Impact's longevity is that he has mastered that equation for himself. It's a different equation for everyone.
Yes.
But he does seem to be able to manage his energy and turn it on in the right moments when there is pressure involved.
You're absolutely right with Impact. So expect good things from Impact. And this is the game to show it, right? Like, he's up against Wunder. It's a very experienced, extremely successful top laner as well. So that's going to be a great matchup to watch.
Now, we kind of talked about a lot of the individuals on EG's side. Let's kind of pull in their matchups entirely. So I'm going to jump back to the jungle here. And while we talk about Inspire, we have to talk about the other side of that matchup in Razork. So, again, this is a two-time MVP across two different regions. How well equipped is Razork, you know, to deal with Inspired?
These stats are crazy to me. When we first saw them.
Well, oh, right. We asked to double check.
Yeah, because Razork stats look better.
They look a lot better.
Especially from this side. And part of this is playoffs, where Inspired was taking more of a back seat and EG wasn't finding as much success. But so much of Fnatic's power comes from the early game success of their jungle.
Yeah, I mean, he won MVP of every series that they won on that miracle run to get here. It really feels like their early game is all in his hands, and it's about him, you know, being able to lead that charge, help transition the mid game, then when Upset can start to pick up the slack. But especially now when we have things like Graves, like we just saw, Hecarim, which could have a huge impact, it feels like when your defining player is your jungler, that Razork can have a huge impact here.
Yeah, I mean, Hecarim is going to be an interesting pick because I could just as easily see EG and Inspired wanting to jump for that. Yeah, those gold differential numbers at 14 is what I'm clinging to. This idea that, I mean, if they were to repeat their averages there, that would be a 300 gold swing just between those two players. Yeah. In a sense. But I do wonder with EG, as we talked about all season long, their ability to team fight and find mid-game answers, right? It was never necessarily about like, oh, yeah, Inspired's going to run over the early game. That's where I come back to your point about Jojo and whether or not he can really find those moments to shine in what is a changing and shifting mid-lane meta. right?
Yeah.
Or is he still equipped with the same kind of champions and a champion pool that can 1v5? Let's not forget, they were moments away from busting out of best of fives when he was on picks like Swain.
Yeah.
Flash, smite, steal, and then 1v5ing the fight by, it's just like, can he still do that?
Those NA playoffs were really wild. Yeah, you're giving me flashbacks to when we almost didn't see EG here at all, but you can say the same thing about Fnatic. So the mid lane matchup, Jojo versus Humanoid.
Humanoid, yeah.
If you go back a year, like these are two big offseason acquisitions. Humanoid was the kind of crown jewel of Fnatic's offseason, and I think some of these stats paint their play style fairly well, specifically kill participation. You can say Humanoids looks low, but that's also because they're just not playing through mid, whereas a lot of what EG does is they will play through mid so they can play through sides, whereas Fnatic goes directly to the bot lane in a lot of their games.
Yeah, and I feel like how Humanoid does is going to be such a telling sign for Fnatic at Worlds overall, because I know sentiment in LEC was that, you still see the laning stats are there. He can show up in that 1v1, but finding that impact, especially linking up with Razork or overall with the team, just wasn't really there. So especially if we get into this meta where it is going to be still about playing towards sides, playing towards your jungler, I think it could be a little bit rough for Humanoid, but with the tenure he's had, I think he can pull through.
Yeah, I think obviously his experience is going to be, the thing that kind of helps shift the scales back in his favor. But to your point about what Jojo can get done in the early game, I mean, Jojo himself said it coming off of MSI about what he learned in terms of maybe how the mid lane should be played. And Emily was spouting it all split long, reminding people that this kid is shifting his play style. The spring version of Jojo that we saw is different from the summer version of Jojo, and he very intentionally was trying to move towards that playstyle of getting to the other lanes. That means those CSD numbers are going to drop, where he was a much more dominant laner in spring, far less dominant here in summer, but getting more work done, and that kill participation was rising.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from the MSI experience that EG had. So he played against Caps, Xiaohu, Faker, and he talked about how those players just sacrifice so much of their lane, which is much different than the type of play he experienced playing in the LCS. So they just leave, right? So Jojo just started doing that more in the LCS, is instead of focusing so much on like proving you're the better player and winning every trade, just leave, because sometimes that can be a such larger win than the 3 minions that you're going to get extra from taking a good trade.
It is so peculiar just to think about how the game of League of Legends has evolved and shifted, right?
Yeah.
Because while I would, and I think most people, or a large portion of people, would still argue that like mid lane is the most important role. It's important in a completely different way nowadays than it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? It was more about getting to the mid lane, accelerating that player, and letting that player dominate in team fights on picks like Syndra or Orianna, LeBlanc. Nowadays, it's completely the opposite. Still an important role because nothing gets done unless the mid laner, links up with someone to go get it done. But it's not about accelerating the mid laner, typically. It's about accelerating those other lanes.
I think you can probably make that point on a lot of roles. Like the support role even changed. It goes top more depending on the meta than it ever did in the past, right? The AD role is moving up for Rift Herald and leaving their lane. That's changed so many times depending on if you're lane swapping or if Dragon is strong. But currently, I think it's going to be for Rift Herald moves. So it's an evolution. Like the League of Legends that's being played now is so much more refined, actually, than it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Now, just a quick update for people at home. Due to, again, the evolving COVID situation, we're setting up a number of, if not the entire team of Fnatic in COVID isolation rooms, as well as a couple members of EG. And so
there was
turnaround
a longer
is taking...
update posted on the LoL Esports Twitter account that explains a little bit about why we're facing the delays.
There you go. So check that out if you want more in-depth detail as to what is going on. But again, while we continue to get those PCs and those rooms kind of swapped out, players ready to go, we continue to chat. But I think at this point we can expand out a little bit, not try and beat a dead horse over a matchup that we haven't even seen play out yet in a meta where we've only seen one game.
Versus you, though.
I mean, yeah, it is. And so, okay, well then let's hop to NA versus EU, and specifically EG.
Yeah.
We referenced the
Where's
MSI.
the EU representative?
Well, no, I'm saying we talked about EG's experience at MSI, and while this is a different EU team, EG went winless against EU teams, right, at MSI. And so that, again, will probably be a little bit of something. When we talk about mentality, that's something that whether you want to give it credence or not, is gonna be sitting there in the back of your brain. You know, like last time we couldn't even get one off of an EU team. And so, I mean, it's gonna mean a lot for them if they can get it done right away on day one.
Yeah, and you know, again, like there's both teams having the sub, so, but if they can pull out the win, especially I think if they could do it in a different way to where we hit on earlier about, you know, seeing which members from EG, but honestly, I think the argument goes towards Fnatic as well, step up, then that, to me, is where EG can build confidence. If it's not just a JoJo pops off type of game, and it is maybe Impact or someone else stepping up.
When you
Just had to put an image to it, right? Yeah, it's just like that's the twist of the dagger right there. Let's talk about how we've talked a little bit about how meta will affect certain roles. I'm actually curious to jump back to Impact, just as a personal curiosity. Again, a player with such a storied career has played, again, won a world championship and has a Jack skin, you know, but probably more recently in his career known for more tanks, right? You know, his ability to team fight, play anything from the Ornns to the Shens to the Mords to the Nars, the Maokais, whatever, right? And there has been talk about buffs to Camille, Fiora, things like that. Is this the kind of situation where you'd actually want to see or expect Impact to try and go learn those things, quote unquote, relearn those things, practice those things more, or stick to his guns and be the guy who can continue to absorb that pressure and just outperform other weak side top laners. Be the best weak side top laner in the tournament.
Yeah, I think the style that they play in this game is going to be somewhat revealing of how their practice is going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when EG was the team that was consistently able to play around Danny, we saw he was very comfortable playing weak side, but in playoffs, he was just playing Aatrox and things that could do a lot of damage. I don't think he would actually ever go to the Camille or Fiora, but if he's playing a high resource bruiser, Aatrox or Gnar that they're able to play around, then I'd say they actually don't have that much faith or believe the meta is not going to be around bot lane. But then if we do see them playing like a Sejuani flex pick or an Ornn early in the draft, that means things have been going very well for them with Kaori in the bot lane. That's kind of my read on this. He's played both sides so far this year.
Final thoughts here?
I also feel like just coming, like throughout the tournament overall, right, assuming EG can make a run, that we will need to see a bit of diversity come out from him, because going up against LCK or LPL top laners can be very hard. And even looking at Wunder, like Wunder throughout his career has been able to play everything. Thinking back to the Pyke days, I mean, he's pulled out tanks, he's pulled out enchanters, he's pulled out literally everything.
Yeah, I do. I love that the first champ on the list was Pyke. That is so perfect for who knows what we're gonna get in this game. I'm told that the players are near readying up, but while they continue getting set up through their COVID isolation setups and while they finish up, we're gonna step away. We'll see you on the other side for Fnatic versus Evil Geniuses.
Waking up at midnight, dreaming all day long. Maybe I'm nocturnal, baby, maybe I was wrong. Been on both sides now, looking for you. Don't feel the pain when I'm asleep, find peace in all this blue. Shake, shake, shaking me to the core. Break, break, breaking me like waves on the shore. Keep crashing into the truth. With both eyes closed, I'll be right next to you. To you, I'll be right next to you. With both eyes closed, oh, I'll be right next to you. With both eyes closed, oh, I'll be right next to you. Somewhere in the dark, I can feel your heart light up like a constellation. Somewhere in the black, I can feel your hand. Hold on to a love worth saving. Shake, shake, shaking me to the core. Break, break, breaking me like waves on the shore. Crash, crash, crashing into the truth. With both eyes closed,
Welcome back to Worlds Playing. Guess who it is? It's your favorite trio.
Hey!
Dash Dad, Lyric. Yeah. So as you can see, we're still a little bit delayed waiting for Vulcan
I need to bring
to get
props.
to his seat. Yeah, I know. We're talking about, look, guys, we're going to come up with some games to play. Tomorrow we'll be a little bit more prepared for delays. We'll have an easel. We can play Hangman. We were talking about getting a telestarter out. We didn't have enough time to move it into position. So where do we want to go? You got more thoughts? I know you got a lot of thoughts.
Okay.
You had a whole 11 thoughts this week.
One of them,
Just the whole week, you had 11 thoughts.
11 thoughts for the start of Worlds. One of them is how different the play-in format now is and how unforgiving it is now. So there are layers of forgiveness in the play-in format. So, let's say like 5 years ago, they used to call it the International Wildcard Tournament.
Right.
Which basically meant anyone that had a major region designation literally wasn't allowed to play in that tournament.
Yes.
So it guaranteed some teams that were not in a major region would make it through to the group stage. It's evolved a few times over the years. Now some regions have gotten 4th seeds added. In fact, 3 of them, they're all in this tournament. And now there are actually 4 group stage slots available for 5 major region teams and what they now call non-major regions, emerging regions, playing regions, whatever you want to designate them. So
7 other teams.
So it's absolutely brutal for these teams to try and make it through. So it's not guaranteed whatsoever that Fnatic or EG make it through. And the reason we talk about the #1 seed being so important in this group, #1 seed auto-qualifies.
Yeah.
If you're not first, it actually doesn't really matter how messy it gets because you can get all the way down to 4th to guarantee yourself chances at best of 5s. So after this single round robin is played through once, you're going to have a best of 5 between the 3rd seed and the 4th seed of each of these 6-team groups. So as long as you're not bottom 2, you're not eliminated right away.
Right.
And then 3 will cross-play 2 between group A and B. So if you're not first, it's actually a little bit of an experimentation. But for this game in particular, as the 2 group favorites, EG and Fnatic, it actually does mean the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, so basically in older formats for play-ins, the round robin, your placement in the round robin was more important. You had to be higher to still be alive in terms of BO5s to play through. Nowadays, you have more leniency in your best of 1 performance, but then you have to play possibly, 2 grueling best of 5s. And that's where I think there are almost less elements of safety for emerging region teams, because generally we look at best of 5s and we say that's actually where major region teams should succeed. When you give them the benefit of at least, 3 games, right? You can't just get upset a single time and be out. You kind of have that extra room to work with. And so, it is. It's an interesting evolution of the format. I'm going to be very curious to see how it all plays out. And I think it does leave some interesting, just the fact alone that one of those 5 major region teams isn't going to make it through is making a lot of people wonder who's it going to be, and we took some bets on that.
It's kind of funny too, because even though like the best of 1s are kind of now more forgiving, at the same time it feels like getting first seed is even more important. Having so many major region teams, because it's like, again, do you want to have to play best of 5 against RNG, DRX, Fnatic? Like,
no, it's weird to think about, especially when you just think about this group, right? And how we talk about these 2 teams that are about to play are considered the 2 favorites. But I'm actually worried for the 2nd seed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, that's the thing, is like I think both of these teams are essentially equally capable of getting the 1st seed, but whoever just doesn't get it, I'm actually concerned does not make groups anymore. And that is pretty wild to say, that you can finish top 2 in your group, but really not have a great shot at making it.
So, predicting games is one thing. Predicting which team doesn't make it out.
Well, I said DRX. I already predicted.
You don't think DRX is making it?
That was my
That was your 50-50.
That was true. Yeah, true.
Because I was saying, it's a very specific scenario where I think MAD is going to beat them out for the 2nd seed.
Okay.
So DRX is going to be the 3rd seed in their group. They will win the 3 versus 4 seed best of 5.
And then lose to one of these teams.
But they will lose to one of these 2 teams in the best of 5. So I'm just predicting that a 50-50 chance. It was my 50% prediction. But in 50% of cases, I think they'll drop a best of 5 to either EG or Fnatic.
Yeah, but your other point I want to reiterate is this group is easy. Group A is easy for the 1st seed, but it is actually worse for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
Because the crossplay is likely DRX MAD.
Exactly.
Or because it's best of 1s, you might be in a best of 5 against RNG. Like, Death could pop off, win 1 game against RNG, DRX's first seed, RNG suddenly has to have a best of 5. So, in some ways, it's actually better to be in B if your ultimate goal is to make it to group.
That's true.
True.
Yeah. Honestly, again, even like leaning back on teams like Saigon Buffalo, right? Whether you're Saigon Buffalo, you're Mad, you're DRX, like, and again, like, it would be hard to beat whether it's EG, Fnatic, whoever in a best of 5, but still a lot better than looking down your own group. So, again, the thing I love about Group A is anyone on this list of teams, I mean, if Fnatic or EG or whoever drop 1 game, Loud now can get out. You know, Beyond Game can now make it through. And it feels like that's what's really exciting, especially after coming off that game 1 where Izuru did have that fight.
Dead FM, right? Coming off of last year, the furthest they've ever gone in the tournament. Yes, they're starting in play-ins here, so they're going to have to do a lot of work to even get back to that point of last year. But, I mean, that's another team you don't want to overlook.
Well, yeah, they actually did straight up win their group last year over Cloud9. So I think I'm actually a little remiss for not mentioning them at all. We've been done nothing but talk about Fnatic and EG as favorites. Literally, both these teams are playing currently without one of their starters from Summer Split. DFM went 18-2, I think maybe 19-2. 3-0 finals, have been to Worlds or MSI almost every single year.
Yeah, they don't make a habit of losing.
Yeah, they're a real threat in this group as well. Okay,
I saw some clapping, but okay, go ahead.
Are you ready?
No, I don't think so just yet.
You predicted DRX to not make it out of
Yes.
the play-in phase.
Who's your pick?
Well, it's 3 p.m. PST.
Yeah.
Which makes it, I'm not very good at math, late in Europe.
Yeah, like midnight. I think it's about 9 hours.
So normally, like, you say anything negative about an LEC team on a Worlds broadcast, they're like the only ones awake.
Right.
So they can flood a bunch of negative comments.
Exactly.
Maybe that dynamic's changed.
Yeah.
Fnatic's not going to make it out.
So are you gambling on EU gamer bedtimes right now?
A little bit.
You think they all went to bed during this delay? I think you played yourself.
They have 5 players in isolation rooms.
That's true.
Right? They haven't actually scrimmed hardly at all.
Not really. Nope, because people in transit.
Yeah, Hilly's on a plane right now. Upset just got off a plane. Like, the odds are stacked against them. They almost didn't qualify for here. All those compounding factors, I think, make it more likely that they would be the ones left out.
So, we have LEC fans, we have Loud fans. What other fan bases?
Well, how many fan bases can Jap piss off on day number 1?
No, you can pull a trifecta here. You think Loud is going to make it out.
Yeah.
Which was one of your 90-50-10.
Yeah, so then who are they?
So now you have to tell me 2 major region teams that aren't going to make it out.
Look.
Yeah.
I want to triple down. I want to tell you 3 major region teams.
Okay, let's go.
So you know what? We're gonna go with DRX.
Yes.
I'm with James.
You have no faith in Deft.
I love Deft. Actually, DRX, in my mind, Chronicle will argue, are the 5th LPL team because they have 3x LPL players. But still, sorry, you're not making it through. EG, you know what? It's not your year. 0-6 against G2 at MSI. Maybe they do the same thing here. And then, you know, Fnatic are mad. We'll lose mad. Fnatic can stay. Well, you know, we have Wunder, we have Hilly. We're doing fine. And that way, we can make every other major region mad.
You guys have the world champion, the MSI champions. You want a 5th seed now by drafting DRX into the LPL?
Ask for the 5th seed.
Oh, it was given on
DRX just picked up Ian and Zeka and Daft.
All right, well, hey, I'm actually rooting for that now because I just want to see that wild prediction come true and the chaos of
it would make group stage like more traditional though in terms of the major regions versus non-major regions. So maybe it happens.
All right, there you have it. A little bit of I don't know what I would even call it. Speculation. That's a great word for what we just did. We speculated for some time. We're going to hand it over to the casters. Players are still doing final checks and getting into positions, but just for a fresh perspective on this matchup, right back over to Captain Flowers and Mark.
Yo, thank you very much, Dash. I don't have anything smart to say, but we do have somebody who does. Welcome to Goldberg for the TriCast.
Happy to be here and happy to share some EU culture with you guys. What you're currently experiencing, and from where I come from, is what we call a Fnatic pause. So usually before a game, it's going to be a longer pause, and you know, we might be here for a while, but sit back, enjoy it. It's part of the process.
I mean, EG or no,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember the TSM pause? EG was pausing away left and right. Vulcan was talking about it afterwards. It was tactical pauses just to tilt the TSM fan base. So both these teams are masters of the pause meta. We're going to have to see who's able to come out ahead after trying to mentally damage the other one.
And if we wait long enough, Halisang might actually be able to play.
Right. Maybe that's the ultimate strategy here. The final Fnatic pause.
He's going to parachute in.
Yeah. For plane to land. Yeah.
I mean, that would be
That's one way to do it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy for it.
So we obviously are bringing Goldberg on to be the EU representative, so I can be as unbiased as I want to, or biased as I want to.
As biased
As biased as I am. Yeah. As I,
You got
as
a
I
fanboy,
secretly-
Mark.
I don't need to pretend anymore.
Yeah.
So there's two angles to this, because like the competitive side is you're disappointed that Hylissang's not here yet. There's all these issues that they're going through with them having to all play in different rooms right now. They're not all on stage together. You talk about Upset coming in late, not having a ton of time to practice. That's the really nice competitive angle of like, man, that sucks. And you want to beat teams at their best to prove that you're actually better than them. I say we take those, all right? If you're EG, you're trying to get out group, you're trying to get out seed one, this is the one time they're going to play each other. This is maybe the weakest Fnatic is going to be in terms of prep. This is when you take them down.
So what happens when we win?
Then we look like just garbage.
No, we blame the event.
Yeah, okay, the classic. We've heard of it before, for sure.
Yeah, so that's the NA angle, I think, right now, is we take those.
I mean, the EU angle I have is the fact that you get Rhuckz coming in. It's not the first time we get an European Regional League player coming in, and I think I'm quite lucky as well. I've actually casted the guy for a year at least, so I think it's going to be great if a guy can come in from a secondary league in Europe and still pair up with the NA guys. I'm here for the fight. I'm here for the war of the substitutes.
I mean, we've also had Fnatic having some rough goes at Worlds in terms of luck last year as well, having to bring in some substitutes last minute. So, they're used to it. This is something they've had to go through a couple times.
All right. Let's go ahead and piss off everybody in theme with what the desk was doing earlier.
Wow.
So, looking at Fnatic's history as an organization, one of the most storied orgs in competitive League of Legends.
Yes.
Was the Season 1 championship a world championship?
Oh my God, you're going to throw this hot potato at me?
Yup.
I can't.
What do you think, Mark?
Okay, so
I'm throwing you under the
Should I
bus.
be doing this?
What do you think?
All right, I will say it is the furthest format that ever existed from the Worlds from Season 2 onwards. The gap from Season 1 to Season 2 in terms of format changes, it was double elim actually back then. It was best of threes in the lower bracket. China and Korea did not attend, so they're not much regional representation, whereas Season 2 started to go closer to the regular format. You could make the case it's the furthest away. Fnatic fans don't hate me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm seeing how many fans. We're starting a conversation on Twitter, Mark. We're
No, you're trying to get me
involved.
flamed.
Listen here.
This is the worst.
I'll make it easy for you instead, Mark. Shall I? I think I will. It doesn't count. Like, who looks
Look,
back at the first
he's
championship
EU
and goes like,
representative.
exactly. I'll be the first one to throw it out there.
Thank
Who
you, sir.
cares?
It's like that meme image, with the guy over the sleeping baby getting, shot in the back. So
Yeah.
Alan Goldberg is protecting me right now.
Yeah, he's trying to save you from all the angry fans. I mean, they didn't get World Championship skins either until later on, right? Those skins
And those
were made
skins
retroactive.
sucks.
Oh my God, dude, Goldberg takes no prisoners.
Dude, that's back when the World Championship skins were like, here's Mundo in a t-shirt. Instead of like,
No, you don't trash talk that one. He go bonk. And if he goes bonk, then that's a good thing.
you like the bonk? I like the
do.
Jax trophy bonk.
Yeah, but
I
that's also
Ooh,
bonk.
that's a good one.
Yeah, I was always a fan of the bonk. The trophy thunk, thunk, thunk noise, it adds a lot of character.
You know those memes where it's like satisfying for my male audience or something like that? I feel like that's just like those bonk things. It's like the most weirdest things, but it just makes sense,
Oh, like the lady at the computer who's just like, gamers only want one thing, and it's they only have one like fantasy, and it's this, and it's just the bonking noise.
Exactly. It's like going to a beach with a shovel and just digging a hole.
Yeah, just unleashing your inner golden retriever.
Exactly.
No, I'm down
Exactly.
for that.
I am lost. You two are having a little moment here. I don't know what you guys.
You've never just gone to the beach with a shovel, dug a hole? Builds character,
No.
Mark. Haven't you ever seen the
You,
movie?
this is LA.
Starring
The
Shia
beach is
LaBeouf.
nearby. I know what we're doing on an off day, Mark. We're getting shovels and we're going to the
Not
beach.
me, man. I'm
Yeah.
pasty. I stay indoors.
Okay, we'll bring sunscreen,
Yeah.
No.
So that
The
like
sun is my enemy.
SPF 150.
umbrella.
No. All right, on the skins line for Worlds, what's your favorite year for skins? Do you have one that where
2017.
you're like, this line killed it?
I am ambivalent. Skarner is in none of them.
I think it's IG.
One day Sansara might win a world championship. You might get that. I first set 2017, but I actually agree with you. Like 2019 ING, all of them slaps. The only thing I think that like is a bit off is that in face they all look the same. So if you just show me their face, I'm like, is that LeBlanc? Is that Fiora? Is that Camille? Is that
Yeah.
Kaiser? I don't know, but they look sick.
They looks like the SKT Jin when he ults and he gets the wing.
Oh, the
yeah.
wings. The
That
wings
was
are
pretty dope.
badass. I really like the wings on him. It just makes it feel that much cooler because you get the crescendo of the music as the wings
Oh,
come
yeah.
out. It feels very cinematic,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it sort of matches up for the hype of the world skin and everything like that. But you know what I would pay for, Mark, now that I thought about it, Riot Games, I know you're out there, I know you're listening right now. I want to pay RP to make any champion make a bonk noise when they hit somebody. I want to pay
Like
1,000
sound
RP or whatever to attach a bonk to Skarner.
You should be an entrepreneur.
Oh, have you ever heard my idea for Trucker Orn?
No.
This is $1 million idea. Riot Games, listen up. So it's Orn, but he wears a trucker hat.
Yeah.
His Q, it has a 50-50 chance. This is a legendary skin. We go all out for this. It summons either a traffic cone or a stop sign. When he charges at it with his E, it makes slamming on the brakes tire noises. His W is a burp, and when he summons it all, it goes honk honk, and it's a big semi that just like runs over everybody and smacks them. And then when he does his little like bonkety bonkety, I'm building an item thing, he gets on the CB radio and he's like, 10-4, good buddy, I need some
Hell
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to pitch this like indirectly on my streams and on Twitter and stuff for like years now. And
I mean,
So you
Twitter,
figured
get it
now is the
happening,
time
get it trending.
I'm doing it
Hashtag
now.
Trucker
We've
on.
got time.
on the world's broadcast.
Yes.
I have to say also, the entire time you've been talking, you have a star stuck to your chest from the confetti. I don't know if it's coming through on camera, but it's insanely
my
distracting
word.
anytime you're
Oh,
trying
that's
to talk.
fantastic. No, I'm keeping that.
Okay, you're keeping it?
I'm going to keep that. And while we figure out what's going on over here with the star, we're tossing to a break. Players are still readying up. We're stepping away. We'll see you back soon.
They cut off our combo.
I could go on.
Hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back, everybody. It's still not game time, but we're still having a good time here at the caster desk.
No one be fooled. Just because you see us, we're still solving some issues.
Yeah, we're having a good time. Goldberg just realized the way that I do my notes. I like to go old-fashioned. We handwrite them. And
what's it on the back of?
An old COVID test. I'm not going to show it because it has my address on there, and we know how Twitch chat can be.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't actually have any real paper, so I wrote half of the teams down on this one.
And what have you got, Mark?
For class today, I have very nicely printed notes. I'd say I have the names, the most played champions, some storylines, some.
You're the kid who reminds a teacher we had homework.
Yeah,
Mark.
Well, if I did it. There's a lot of times I didn't do the homework.
Okay.
But if I did it, I'm getting credit. I swear to God.
You're okay. All right. At least you're going with sunk cost fallacy there when you're dragging everybody else down with you. But yeah, I got a whole page, a whole column about Fnatic here.
That's an A+ in my book. If you handed that in and I was your teacher,
dude,
you show grit. You show heart. There's no way.
An apple as well. Just shine it up there.
There's no way you didn't do that on the bus on the way to school with whatever scraps of paper you could find.
No, I 100% did. Back when I was
kind of
in
curious
school,
about the Go on, just keep your conversation going. I'm just curious.
I mean, I was also kind of like a little out of it when I wrote all these because I didn't get a whole lot of great sleep, so some of the words aren't spelled right. Just don't worry about it a whole lot.
Would they have been spelled right if you had slept well?
Maybe.
I
mean,
don't
we're
know.
never gonna know. We're not in that
the odds would
timeline,
go up.
Mark. It's
I'm
like Doctor
completely
Strange.
slammed by jet lag, so it's like I can actually see it. You know, my jet lag and your fussiness, it's just mixing together and I actually read it.
Yeah, see,
it's great.
we're building synergy
Exactly.
before the game
Were
starts.
you good in
That's
school,
actually-
Goldberg?
I like to be like, I feel like as a kid, I was like, yeah, primary was so easy. But then again, every kid was like, I used to be good in school until I went to university. You're just like, nah, mate, it was just easy in the beginning. And then it got hard and you just didn't
scales
care
up.
enough.
It scales up.
I like it.
Yeah, does that actually stick?
But the people who can't currently see what's happening right now, we're getting temporary tattoos with, what is it, confetti? Stars in the face of Captain Flowers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just seeing how many of these I can stick on my face before
You
they
still got
start
the chest
falling
one there. I respect the commitment to
Yeah,
that.
we're keeping the chest one.
I
for the
called
rest
it
of
out,
the
and
day.
you're like,
From
great.
every 5 minutes that goes by, Captain Flowers will put not a star on his face.
Oh, it's just like when you get school, when you have like a good assignment.
Oh, you
get
think
a star.
right, there you
You
go.
got 1 star on there.
Hey, I'll have you know, I went and looked in social media during the break, and everybody was loving Trucker Orn. So I'm giving myself so many gold stars as a reward for Trucker Orn.
That's what happens.
Wow,
in
look
Can
at
you
that.
imagine if this wasn't 3 p.m. PST, if this was middle of the night and you were
I would
even
have,
more unhinged?
I would have way more stars already.
I am at that sleep schedule.
Yeah,
I am
you're
jet lagged. This
ready to
is
go. No, I
this is
lost
the
some of
middle
my
of the
stars.
night for me.
I lost some of my stars.
Goldberg's just going to be screeching in the middle of the game, not even casting.
I'm here for this
Just
one
react.
game,
You're the hype
and I'll be
man
back
now.
later for the last 4 games. Like by the end, when we reach that 8th game, I'm not going to be functioning.
If
I'm
you
not
pass
human.
out, I'll be around. I'll swap back in
Nice,
with,
nice.
if you need a break.
I mean,
you're the
it's
real
good thing
hero
we're
of the
sponsored
day.
by Red Bull.
You know when's your assignment? Are you doing casting tomorrow?
Nah,
I was going to say, because if this keeps up, maybe we'll just do it straight into the next set. You know, just keep rolling, 24-hour
just don't
broadcast.
sleep. We just
24-hour broadcast.
Yeah, we just keep rolling into
that
day
was
2.
what it was back in the day. Who remember like the curse house where they just like had a camera going? Or just like you could just always see what was happening.
You saw some. There was a lot of things happen that probably shouldn't happen on camera. With
Oh
those.
really? I
A
didn't
lot
know
of
that
arguments
stuff.
that were.
This is
no,
back
just a lot
when-
of arguments.
This is back when
Okay.
you were at Curse, wasn't it, Mark?
No, this was pre-me.
Oh, this was. All right, this
Ah,
was
Yeah,
pre
the
Mark.
convenient.
24-hour
The
cams
pre-Mark
with like
08.
elements and St. Vicious having some legendary fights. There's been a lot of legendary pauses as well. People will talk about the season 2 pause, where Silver Scrapes actually became like the meme.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
it was 8 hours, I
I
believe.
can't
it
believe we
was.
didn't all just hate it because he kept playing, but all of us was just like collectively like, yeah, this is
United under
great.
that.
No,
Yeah.
I definitely hated it in the 8 hours. that
You
I was-
watch your
But
mouth.
Mark, you have done the most famous reprise of the song worldwide.
If I told you I did that ironically,
I mean, of course you did, but people accepted it unironically. They
Yeah.
loved you for what you were, Mark.
It's a piece of art.
have you ever?
Can you do something meaningless and give it meaning? That's what you did.
Yeah.
That's quite beautiful, really.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. I think about it peaking in life already, like the way high school jocks, wear their Letterman jacket.
I don't
and
know.
they're, like,
I'm
35.
not. You'll
All right,
tell me.
maybe
I'm
this-
not
maybe,
American.
Maybe this is an American reference, but like,
Well, that's okay. We got to teach Goldberg about the
yeah, there's
American
like,
stuff.
I
We're
mean,
gonna get him a
and
burger
the
or
idea
something.
transcends. This is just like the American stereotype version of it. Is like the jock that
Yeah.
was like the coolest guy in high school. That's
I've seen
peak.
Grease.
Yeah. It's like those people who peak in high school. That's like me in my career with my Silver Scrapes rendition. Is I don't think I'll ever do anything more renowned than that. So
I mean,
it's all
art is
downhill.
also tragedy. So
It's all downhill from here, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going
That's really your-
trending down.
That's your outlook on life? It's just
Actually,
skiing down the slope. Hope you don't hit a tree. That's just how we're.
I'm just vibing, dude. I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, you're saying it's all downhill. That's all. You ever play that old that computer game where you were a skiing dude, but you couldn't? Like,
Oh,
eventually
dude, that is a throwback.
The abominable snowman would eat you. I remember playing that.
How old
when I
are you,
was,
Goldberg?
Like 6 years old.
How old are you guys?
31.
32.
I'm 23.
Okay, yeah. So
Fit right in.
he probably didn't play the abominable.
You're a
snowman.
boomer
So
sandwich.
we had slope.
two boomers.
We had slope. You went to a website online. You just played slope. You just kept that going in the back of class.
You ever play Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing or Number Cruncher?
Mavis Bacon's typing simulator. Yes, I remember that.
Can we get older person on the desk? Please teach me about it then.
All right, so back in the day, they were
Yes.
just adding computers to schools for the first time,
Yes, it was great.
and they didn't want games on there, but they would put in educational software that could be games, like Math Blaster and Number Cruncher,
Wow.
and Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. And that's what you would do is
Is
you
it
would.
Beacon?
Was it Bacon or
I
Beacon?
thought it was Bacon.
Dude, this is some Mandela effect right here.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
reality
brother.
actually happened, Mark?
Let's get a Twitch poll going. Anyone in any mods in the Twitch chat right now want to
Hook us up here.
get a poll going?
We won't be able to tell what it is. Like, we don't have Twitch chat even available.
Someone can put it in the prompter eventually someday.
Oh, wait, that's true. Yeah, we can do that. So, yeah, Mavis Bacon. Did you ever? So the one I remember in high school, they had like one set of computers. I think it was in like the accounting classroom or something. You could just play whatever browser games you wanted.
Dude, Tron was my game.
I was playing Bloons Tower Defense. I
Yeah,
was
everyone did that.
I was playing like Bowman 2, where I played so much Bowman 2, I caused the computer to crash. I took that as like a mark of pride. Oh, it's Beacon, not Bacon.
That's what they said in the prompter.
Yeah, that's what the prompter
Yeah, but did you
says.
Google it or did you Twitch chat it? Because the question was it a Mandela effect? Did everyone think it was Bacon? Because maybe
Yeah.
you could still be right, Ham Flowers.
I just want to be right in the eyes of the community, and Bacon sounds cooler. That's what I'm worried about.
This is the dichotomy of man.
Perception is reality.
You want to be right in the general sense with the community. I want to be objectively right.
I just want you to know I've checked out of this conversation.
That's totally
Let's check you
fair.
back in. What do you want to talk about, Goldberg? Anything
Yeah,
like?
I'm really better at bouncing on ideas. I'm not really the guy who just coming up.
What have you
with it.
eaten in America so far?
Yeah, what do you got?
You said you've been to America, but this is your first time working for broadcast. Have you been to LA before?
No, this is my first time in LA. So so far I went to McDonald's.
Pog?
Yeah, I got 20 chicken nuggets.
Is it different in Europe now? Can you compare the two?
I was actually surprised because those nuggets were so small. I am sure there's a
Wait.
scheme going where these nuggets are just not as big as they would be where I come from.
EU has like Mondo nuggets.
They're not Mondo. We're talking like maybe like 5 millimeters, bigger. But
You're
it
gonna have to
matters
put,
when
you're
you
gonna
have
have to put
20
that in
of them.
freedom units for me, bud.
Wait, okay, well, somebody help me out here. I don't know freedom
It's
units.
like this much bigger, he's saying, in Europe?
Yeah,
All right,
that's about right.
Just a smidge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
Alright.
smidge.
Alright.
I will say, when you hear that, America's food options are usually quite large, I can see that being disappointing that you come to get the nuggets and
I went to Starbucks as well, got a nice coffee because I
Pog.
was jet lagged and it was warm outside. I love autumn and I love Worlds, and Worlds to me means like I go outside,
Brisk weather.
I'm blasted with cold air, I'm in my hoodie, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is great.
Chilly
I go to
cozy.
LA and it's like 28 of actual degrees outside, and it's just humid, and it just feels like a summer vacation rather than me getting ready for Worlds.
So you're not in the mood.
Maybe I will be, but I mean, there's a little pause stopping it so far, isn't there?
I'm going to get a lot of
It's gonna be winter by the time this pod.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You're gonna get your.
Oh,
nice,
you're going to
cool
feel
breezy.
LA
Your
winter.
Christmas in LA.
Yeah, it's like 60 degrees.
Yeah,
It'll be freezing.
LA winter is pretty much like the end of summer when it starts to cool down everywhere else in the world.
Are you more cultured than us? Can you do the conversions? If I say 60 degrees, you just look at me and roll your eyes? Yeah.
No.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Maybe,
I'm gonna-
maybe we can get
Man
it in the
learns to
prompter.
communicate.
I think I'm gonna piss off a lot of people that don't.
I
live
feel
in
like
America
that
with
might
this
be the sentence that will say the most today, just from the analyst desk and here.
It probably is. It probably is. But so here's the thing. I'm honestly down with most metric measurements, right? Like meters, millimeters, all that makes sense. Liters, milliliters, everything's cool. Like it's stacking
There's a
up.
reason.
It's tens by tens by tens.
Yeah.
But then Celsius, man, is just it's made up. It doesn't make any sense.
Fahrenheit.
No.
Okay, wait.
Flowers, I'm gonna disagree.
No, I don't
So,
like Celsius.
What is
Celsius
the
doesn't make no
freezing?
sense.
What is the freezing temperature? Where is that level in Fahrenheit?
32.
Why?
Why?
I don't know.
What's the boiling point?
I don't know.
It's 100. That's how they do it for Celsius.
Oh, well, what's the Fahrenheit one?
I don't even know. It's
See,
like 365
and the
or
freezing,
something.
the freezing is 0.
days in a year.
The freezing
Yeah,
one is
I mean-
0. Everything makes sense with
All right,
Celsius.
and here's what I'll say as well for Goldberg's point as well. It's closer to kelvins, which scientifically, as
What?
a big nerd, Sir, do you not know
Kelvin was a guy in my high school math class.
But that is what you are actually like absolute zero and all that stuff with Kelvins. Celsius is basically just shifted to make this 0 to 100 thing work. But it's the same numbers in terms of its scale. It's just that Kelvin's is the like closer sign.
And who says you don't get analysis under a pause? There you go.
Dude, I can talk. I'm not going to go down my science rabbit holes.
You got some of those like potion bottles, like beakers and stuff?
No.
Beacons? You mean bacon?
No, oh yeah, sorry.
I just watch YouTube videos and then pretend I know what the hell I just watched and repeat it, and then everyone's just like, what? And I'm like, I don't know either, man.
Dude, that's one of the best ways to come across as smart. You just know random facts that other people don't know. Everybody always thinks that they're like, wow, Captain Flowers really knows his Skarner. I'm like, no, bro, this champion has one mechanic, and I happen to know this
Butt
mechanic.
flip!
It's a butt twist, Mark.
I can't even
flip.
get that right.
He can't flip. He has no dash.
He has a 4-second stun combo.
Goldberg, favorite champion. Go.
Thresh.
Porqué.
I mean, I feel like as a support player, he gets you the most value. It's so roundabout as a kid.
He's a Chad support.
Yeah.
But if you're bad at him, you look just awful. But
Exactly.
if you're good at him, you're a hero.
That's where I was going to go, is you have to be good.
Yeah, and I think Pyke is the second one. I was actually matched in my recent Clash game against Holy Phoenix, who's on Wildcats.
That's unlucky.
Yeah, and I
gapped him?
so sad I don't have recordings because I 2v2 killed him down in that bot lane on my Pyke. Yeah, but I lost the game.
We should sub you in, man. Get down to Mexico City. Play some games.
It's like I'll say this right now. He was up in the tower all the time and did just not respect him. He's like, I'm playing against this D1. I can't say that one. Can you say dog? This D1 dog? Is that
Scrub? Dog?
Scrub?
I don't know.
Noob.
Dog
yeah,
water.
D1 noob.
People
So
say
he's
dog
just all
water,
in the face. Yeah, he was disrespecting. Like, I got him hooked on the tower one time and he died. So
wait, you said you were smurfing on him. You killed him once after he was
two times.
Okay.
Actually, the first one was insane, but Riot, when you patch the client, you can't go back and grab your old replay files.
Oh, yeah.
So I lost it.
That's always the worst.
Yeah,
You
convenient for my.
Yeah, dude, I was smurfing on
explanation.
double lift too, but the VOD's gone. I
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
That's a darn shit.
The funniest thing that happened was like right when Earth mode came out for the first time.
It was good.
It was.
It's still good.
It's
right?
still good, but
Yeah,
like back then, this is not about the mode, and more just like I was playing with a bunch of people in house at Curse,
Okay.
and we were queued up into like other high elo people because it uses. I think it uses your normal MMR. So I played into Turtle on Earth mode with he was on Ezreal, and it was just like literally impossible to hit him with an ability. And all of his Qs felt like they were locked on. This is when
Point
he had
click.
Yeah, he had 4 accounts in top 10 back in the day. Like Turtle was an absolute monster, and I played into him. I don't even remember what I was playing, but I just died as soon as I got within a screen of him.
I remember getting dumbstood by Nakne when he was in EU.
Ooh, that's a throwback right there.
Yeah, he played Jay's mid. And my God, that was like when Koreans came to EU and you played solo queue. My God, there is a big difference.
Okay, so I don't know if I should say this at the risk of a caster curse, but currently all 10 players are
Nope.
No,
Nope.
Mark,
Nope.
in
Nope.
the lobby
Nope.
in the correct positions.
Some guy in the live thread says, I feel like we're at a high school lunch table. I take that as a compliment.
I mean,
Thanks,
yeah.
This guy. I work with that. Why is League getting advertised on my favorite podcast? It's pretty clever.
Yeah, I get that. You guys want to start podcast after today?
I mean,
I only have like 3. Why not do one more?
yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Do you have a podcast?
I don't have any podcast.
Okay, so here's what we do. Our podcast will become superior to his, and it'll come crawling back to be part of our program.
And then Mark will become the superior podcast, and then you will leave the other ones.
Assimilate me through osmosis.
Yeah. You ever watch that movie when you
Wait, is that
wait,
music?
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold
They're
on.
playing us out.
Hold it.
Don't you
Hold
don't
it.
you toy with my heart. Don't you do it, game.
Head
Don't
referee,
you
game
do
is
it.
starting. Oh my God, we're champ select!
Holy shit. Let's go, baby.
It's League of Legends!
Oh.
Game 2 of Worlds!
Rock and roll. It's time for some gaming, my friends. Finally, we get Evil Geniuses and Fnatic going head to head. The draft has begun.
Oh boy, finally, we'll see how this game goes. We got Goldberg here to represent Fnatic, me for EG. We're gonna see who's gonna take the first game in the rivalry.
Alrighty, Goldberg, what are we expecting to see out of the draft here from the Fnatic side? What do you want to see from these guys?
I think it's going to be really curious because after playoffs, I think a lot of people had different expectations as to what Humanoid was going to perform on. He looked really good on the Sylas.
Yeah.
Sylas is still okay, but might not be the same kind of priority you went for back then. And it's also just a bot lane meta. You can still see that champions are being prioritized against the likes of Upset here. But looking at what we saw in our first game, it was all about the junglers when it came to first pick. pick now was still picked up. So I think teams are still figuring out what they really want to do.
All right, so let's check in at least what the bans are looking like here in the first half. Hecarim, Akali, Ornn banned out by Fnatic. Evil Geniuses remove Kalista and Yuumi. A little bit of time left to go on that third one. What is the final of the first half going to be? Sejuani banned away.
Seems like a lot of Sejuani bans coming through. The Hecarim as well. Big respect ban to Inspired, even back when he was in Europe, winning the LEC MVP. It was a lot of Hecarim-type champions.
And just instantly a first pick Aatrox coming through from Wunder. Wunder that actually had to play a lot of weak side most recently in a lot of the games that he was playing. So it's really curious to see that this is what they opt in for immediately. A champion that I'm expecting to see at some point will be that Maokai in the top lane as well. He's become super strong for tanks to play against also.
And hey, look at that being hovered right there. The Caitlyn that we saw banned out earlier. I know this is a champion that's been getting a lot of attention in Champions Queue as well. It makes it through the first phase with only one marksman ban focused on that Kalista. This is going to be the first lock into the tournament for Kaori.
And that's a big part of it, is the fact that Kaori is the sub coming in, instantly giving a champion that you have to play around. You know, Caitlyn, for the longest time, is you push waves, you make sure you have prio, you make sure you have vision, so you can kind of go this fast push. You want to obliterate turrets, and you want to have a lot of tempo in the game. Even with the buffs that came through, that's still kind of her identity.
And it's really curious to see now as well that Graves will be the champion locked in here. Graves is usually one of these junglers that he doesn't facilitate lanes. Lanes are trying to facilitate him. Yeah. For the longest time, that was the style that Razork wanted to play, but he couldn't play in this team. So the fact that you currently see him be on the Graves means that Fnatic also needs to show now that it's not just Razork on a Poppy or something facilitating that needs to help you like he did in playoffs. Now you need to give him the resources as well.
Yeah, they were the highest goal difference at 15 in playoffs for LEC. They were up over 1,000, around 1,200, and a lot of that felt like both Upset being an absolute god on Lucian, as well as Razork's really good early ganks. The fact that you're on this Graves will mean that it's a bit of a different style.
Alrighty, so we've got the Graves, the Viktor, the Aatrox, the top half of the map drafted for Fnatic. On the other side, things are very different. They've got the Sylas and then Caitlyn Rhuckz, one of those long-range, really oppressive bottom lanes that likes to take control really early.
Yeah, and it's usually a lane that wants to be able to have the push on you. That's why you also see champions like Karma be banned out, because you can actually contest the wave push coming in. But it's also a lane that dictates the style of where the team wants to play. You want to break open the first turret and move around. So they need to make sure that they're containing the bot lane of Fnatic, which arguably is also the strongest side of Fnatic too. MissFortune, who's been a strong champion, is still left open. Aphelios, who's also starting getting some play, is also there. So I still feel like Upset has tools, but it's definitely EG bringing out a power pick down with this bottom lane duo.
Alrighty, so the bans are done. It's two junglers banned out by Fnatic, both the Lee Sin and the Jarvan. They want to shut down some of Inspired's early playmaking. Meanwhile, with EG, you already touched on the Karma, but getting rid of that Nautilus, if we're looking at the champions on Fnatic so far, there's really no engage here. So they want to stop that from being a possibility.
That's what I was about to say, is right now they don't really have any engage or lockdown CC. You're going to expect probably that to come from Rhuckz, but that's a huge burden to put on a young guy coming in to be the sub, be the primary engage into a Caitlyn Rhuckz lane, where a lot of those engaged champions will lose early on unless you get like really nasty gank setup.
I feel like you just lock in the MF Leona here. You say lane is going to be a little bit insufferable, but we don't have a lot of choice. We need that extra engage, and having that classic lockdown is really good, because even though Rhuckz and Caitlyn is shoving you in, if one member makes an overextension, Leona will just lock you down, and you force the Caitlyn to grab that cleanse instead of a combat summoner spell instead.
Exactly, and there it is. MissFortune Leona locked in to finish off the Fnatic composition. Now EG took Viego as their first pick of the second half of the draft. This has been becoming more popular in Champions Queue recently as well. We've been seeing quite a few picks of this, and now I'm just curious, what is that last pick for Evil Genius?
If they want to continue playing around the range, they could just grab a GP or something along those lines, but going in with the Renekton, you have something that actually contests the Aatrox in lane.
Yeah, so you have this triple melee topside with this perma-shoving bot lane for EG here. The Aatrox was a bit of a problem for a lot of teams in playoffs in North America, how people responded to it. Could you play the Fiora, for example, as a counter pick? A lot of people couldn't. And so for Impact to take the Renekton, obviously a great matchup for the Renekton, but still one that you have to play well, because if you ever start falling behind, it can be tough.
Exactly. So, with the compositions finished now, I want to ask both you guys. Goldberg, I'm going to start with you and with Fnatic. How do you want to see them play this?
You feel good?
I feel good.
You like it? I feel better.
Yeah, oh, you do? Ooh. Okay, well, you know, from the side of Fnatic, it's not the same kind of kiting we're going to get from Upset, you know, but I think they still have tools. And when you're playing a champion like Leona, back in the day, that was Rhuckz' most played champion. So while the level is new to him, he's still on comfort and still seeing how he can play around ground spacing and have someone to play for. The only thing I'm worried about is the fact that Razork might get invaded with the opponent having power lanes from that bot lane.
For me, if I'm looking at it as a North American fan, I saw how crazy the early games were for Fnatic. I was terrified of upsets laning phase going up against our substitute, but the fact that they are probably on the back foot and have a little bit more scaling with things like the Viktor, I'm at least feeling okay a little bit for EG, but it's still a big question mark of high execution with all these short-range champions and a relatively fragile bot lane in the Caitlyn Lux. If things start going bad, it can go very bad.
And man, I got eyes on both of the junglers here in this game, especially. Goldberg, you talked about how, hey, if you're going to lock in Graves, the team's got to be able to play around you. We've seen Humanoid be able to facilitate Razork, like getting those things done, making sure that he can get ahead and build some of those leads, go for invades. But when EG's drafting a Viego, you can't just let him fall behind either.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see that Viego. Obviously, that's a huge callback to a comfort champion for Inspired. Like, no one's going to forget the pentakill he had against Misfitch, which, by the way, back then was against Razork as well. So, you know, historically between these two guys,
got a mental edge.
Yeah, maybe potentially coming through there. But it's going to be curious to see how Humanoid is going to be performing on the Viktor, because it's something that he actually struggled on when he went on to control mages throughout playoffs. So going up against Jojopyun, who's really been favoring champions like Sylas, where there is a lot of agency, it's going to be curious to see how he's going to perform ever since the playoffs.
So one thing I do want to go ahead and take stock of here nice and early, both AD carries going for the cleanse. You mentioned it versus the Leona. It's the same thing versus the Lux. You got to be able to get away from that. Got to be able to get away if you get caught in the CC. All 4 solo laners running a teleport with no summoner spellbook outliers anywhere else. But I do also want to point out, this will not be the Ghost Graves that we saw in game number 1 of the day. Razork going for the Flash Dark Harvest instead of the Ghost Fleet.
Most importantly, the banter between EU and NA is underway. Jojo cannot keep his mouth shut. Right out the gate says, Humanoid Viktor, oh my god, go easy on me, please. Don't Chovy gap me. And Humanoid stepping up, using some language I won't repeat.
Oh boy, wait, what do we got here? Oh, okay, that's, yep, I guess we
Let's
can't
just say he answered the call.
I love to see it. I love to see it. I love having that banter online nice and early. Both of our junglers are starting on the top half of the map, expecting them to path downwards, and we're expecting this Evil Genius's bottom lane to really be controlling the pace of things on the lower half of Summoners.
Yeah, just how that bot lane is going to be panned out. When you're playing Lux and Caitlyn into a lane like Leona, like the first few levels as Leona, they're just going to suck. You're not going to have much access to the wave. You're trying to come up, proc your little support item, get some gold, but in the end, you will get pushed in. So having them finally be able to shove that wave, they get a lot of space to roam around with. They can go aggressive, get wards on the enemy, or they can just move Vulcan up towards River to have some pressure in the mid lane as well.
Look at the double wards that they already have in River as well, both covering the Tri-Brush gank, but also the Dragon Pit gank. Giving a lot of respect to Razork's early games where he was incredible in the LEC, finding these unique angles to find kills. And bot lane can become a bit of a black hole with Caitlyn Lux lanes, where one team wants vision control so that they can perma-shove, the other one needs to gank to break that open to stop you from just taking turret plates. That causes both junglers to path top to bot, and it becomes just like the focal point of the game.
And we even know from seeing Fnatic play before, Razork's the kind of guy who will make sure he's trying to fix these lane states, get everything where it needs to be for the rest of the squad, but it is difficult when you're just stuck behind this massive war machine that is Caitlyn and Lux in the bottom lane like you're talking about. It's miserable to play against. We're just seeing everything here right now. It's EG with control over the side lanes. Mid lane going to be the push for Humanoid against Jojopyun nice and early here. Viktor having that little bit of an edge over Sylas to get that one crashed in. But honestly, not a whole lot going on here early. Both junglers opting for the full clear.
Yeah, and you know, it's just going to continue like that. Game plan for EG should just keep your bot lane stabilized. When they crash this wave, they know they can secure the crab on the bottom side as well. The only worry that you'll have to have is that fact that Humanoid is going to be pushing in the Sylas, and that's just how the normal range into melee matchup go. And up towards the top side, well, you said as well, Mark, they had intel on the junglers. They knew where they was, so he could just farm for free. Inspired, though, fighting Rhuckz.
Yep. Finds him a little bit, not going to get a whole lot more out of it. Upset and Rhuckz are going to be very familiar with the sights, sounds, and smells underneath this tier 1 turret because they aren't going anywhere else anytime soon.
God, this is exactly what you do with the pushing bot lane. You have your Viego go down there, not actually to make a play happen. He just kind of drops 2 wards for them to make sure that the Graves can't interrupt it, force Graves back up to the top side of the map, by that kind of isolated lane phase for your Caitlyn Lux to just keep shoving away. And it does put pressure, I feel like, a little bit on Razork as well as Wunder and Humanoid on the kind of winning side of the map a little bit to actually get some things done.
And while not a lot of things are happening right now, I gotta give some NA some props here. The fact that we see Aatrox versus Renekton, quite often we'll see both of them default to a Doran's shield instead.
Yeah.
They just kind of wing it like that. But Impact, come on. He's actually gone for the Doran's blade and trying to take agency in the 1 versus 1, as you can see here as well. That's Chad. I respect it. +1 to NA.
All right, we'll take those props.
I'll take that any day of the week, as Inspired just walks through mid, helps shove out this wave a little bit, wants to allow Jojo to crash that wave, get his reset, get his position back in that lane ASAP, as Impact ready to crash another one here in the top side. Rhuckz is alone underneath the tier 1 in bottom, but Upset's trying to make his way back here. Vulcan, Kaori, and Inspired are going to be moving as a unit of 3 towards the Fnatic support, but a nice use of the Zenith Blade to bring him back underneath as Evil Geniuses get their jungler away. Jojo's coming in looking for it. Q1, Q2 both going to miss. Rhuckz and Upset are fine for now. Inspired at 200 HP. Jojo looking to go in again. Goes down the Qs. Rhuckz still walking away. Okay, Fnatic escapes, but it's still massive amounts of minions lost and a lot of extra golden turret plates to the EG bot lane.
Overall, a decent play for EG. I think they really wanted to get them pinned up under that turret and get that double kill there. Feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, but still in a good position. The fact that Impact is winning the top side 1v1. I'm going to keep moving on with my point.
Yikes.
Impact's winning top side, bot lane's winning. You got double winning side lanes. A lot of pressure onto Fnatic. I don't know what just happened on my screen. We're moving on.
But that actually might be a point of attack for Fnatic, because out of nowhere, this super immobile Locks that doesn't have that cleanse swapped into the heal when Kaori has it, all of a sudden might be someone you can gank. In the mid lane, Humanoid actually TP'd in to the mid lane instead of TPing down towards the bot side. We see a lot of teams having to TP down bot in this meta because you just combine a wave push and go for these dives. Fnatic didn't opt for that. They trusted that bot lane not to die, so Humanoid could just go back into the mid lane.
And really good showing for Rhuckz and Upset. The fact that you're having Upset come flying in late, Rhuckz obviously being called up in an emergency sub situation to come in and actually lane with Upset. You have to imagine there's maybe 0 scrims together. I'm not exactly sure how many they might have gotten, but it would be probably countable on.
I mean, scrims and Fnatic over this, we're not going anywhere.
That's a separate tangent, my guy. But either way, the fact that they are doing decently in a very high pressure situation so far.
Alrighty, boys, it's a 600 gold lead for Evil Geniuses with no kills on the board, and the vast majority, if not all of that, is the bottom lane. It is those turret plates. It is the 61 versus 41 farm advantage. Jojo a level behind here compared to Humanoid. Not an entire level, of course, but Humanoid just having that extra little bit of an EXP lead. He's going to force Jojo away. Jojo having no TP to get back here. Razork's got control over this topside river, so he should be able to secure the crab as Wunder just tries to distract these minions here a little bit longer. Impact once gets the wave shoved up. Inspired is here, but there is no level 6 on either jungler.
Yeah, and really good wave management from both solo laners of Fnatic currently. You can see Humanoid gets the push in against Jojo, and Wunder, knowing that they don't have intel on the enemy jungler like Inspired right now, actually just sets up the freeze in his lane right here. So even though Inspired is up here, the only way he'll find the gank if his Wunder gets over aggressive.
Nope. Looks like we're pretty good. Impact's just going to walk it off. Takes a lot of damage there from the Q3, but he'll be able to reset, do whatever he wants. Does have the teleport if he needs it as well. As you can see, that bottom lane finally being pushed out there by Fnatic.
Really nice play over the last minute and a half by both Fnatic solo laners. The mid pressure that Humanoid put down onto Jojo forced him back into base with no recall. Vulcan had to cover mid, which relieved the pressure in the bot lane as well. You just saw that kind of freeze that Wunder has on the top side while still getting chunked onto Impact. They have done a really good job. You can see the gold lead coming back closer to even now, just off that kind of solo lane prowess.
Alrighty, boys, where's First Blood going to be? Where do we think we're actually going to get some of this PvP action?
Bot lane fiesta party. Something's going right or wrong for one of these teams.
Alrighty. That's what I like to hear. We'll see if anybody moves their way down there, as we do have Inspired and Razork both hanging around the mid lane. Level 6 for both junglers.
But actually, this could be curious as well, because EG actually have a bot lane that can shove in. So if you shove in your bot lane right now, you get Vulcan on a reset. You have that first rotation up towards the Herald. Maybe you force a skirmish that actually favors you there, especially because Humanoid continues to have that push. So leveraging the fact that your bot lane can move is something to go for, but it looks like they're just going to continue to try and get some extra gold by chunking down the plates, while on the top side as well, even Wunder is forced to recall, so I wonder if EG sees the situation to commit here.
Well, Inspired finds a quick stun on a Humanoid, but now he's got to be careful. Razork with the immediate punish, and they force out the defensive Viego ulti. Jojo dashing himself back over the Raptor wall. Uses E2 to get to the minions. There's the ulti from Humanoid. Evil Geniuses, they end up taking a big chunk of damage here on their mid laner, Jojo.
Oh my god, Humanoid, I was worried about the Viktor. He said, please don't Chovy get me. It's happening a little bit. This black hole in mid lane pulling so much pressure down towards him. Impact getting his ult forced.
I don't think it was a force as much as he thought
fatty
maybe
finger?
he was gonna go in on Razork there, but it didn't happen. Meanwhile, in bottom lane, a lot of damage there to Vulcan. First blood, Fnatic in the 2v2.
And that is Rhuckz that shows up as well on the Leona. They have the Leona MissFortune bot lane. They know Vulcan flashed earlier. They have it on the timer, and they see the moment. Instantly punished down there.
Nicely done, but EG now seems to want a fight here in the topside river. Remember that Inspired does not have an ultimate. Impact does not have an ultimate, so Fnatic can take the Herald and get away.
Really nice play for the last minute for Fnatic, just really stopping the bleeding in all lanes. That flash lost by Vulcan that you called out, Goldberg, punished right before it came back up. They get that kill. That slows the bot lane push down. You also get the Herald. It's an interesting development of what's going to happen with Caitlyn's. Do you start moving for the Herald, or do you just keep your pressure bot? They chose to keep the pressure bot, but they still got engaged on.
And it feels bad when you play. If you ever play the Lux in this matchup as well, knowing if you don't have that summon spell, Leona is just unbearable to play against. Like, you leverage the fact that you have early pressure in the lane, but know when you hit level 6, you can never be in center flip range, or else you just will get blown up.
Really, really nice stuff being able to not only get that kill, but force the flash out of Kaori as well. And it's all about maintaining the threat of another kill as soon as they've got those resources available once more. That's what they got to be ready to do. They must be able to all in this incredibly oppressive poke lane that does still have about a 25 CS lead for Kaori over Upset.
But the lane is still going to go, like, you're still shoving in with a Lux, right? And because of that, they are getting access to the river right now, where you can just start off the first neutral objective, at least from EG size, by getting this Cloud Drake for themselves. So there's still lots to play for EG. It's not like the bot lane is all of a sudden shut down.
You don't lose, you know, the game outright, but you do have that hiccup in tempo, which can slow things down, because ideally after you crack bot turret, you want to start moving top and whatnot. The fact that top lane's already starting to turn in Wunder's favor, we see a Gore Drinker for Impact instead of what has been kind of becoming more popular with Blade of the Rune King and then into Sunfire, for example. So not quite as strong in the 1v1, and Wunder's been taking advantage of him.
I know Odo was actually talking a bit about that, and he said that it felt like bait. And I say this because Odo had a horrible time with the Renekton in the beginning of playoffs, and then moved into a point where it actually worked out for him. Well, newsflash, he won the championship. Of course.
No way!
And in that regard, he was saying that Gold Drinker for competitive, it just feels better. The other one's great for solo queue, but having that Gold Drinker when you're playing extended team fights, it just has a lot of value.
Yeah, people have debated it a lot, especially into like shorter range compositions. A lot of people do love the Gore Drinker still, just for how beefy it makes you in team fights.
Oh boy, Kaori getting jumped on here in the bottom lane. No flash, no way out. Upset gets another.
Razork with every jungler's favorite gank. Show up, shoot your ult over the wall, get that, you know, contribution, then just keep power clearing. Gonna now get an invade as well. They get the pressure in the bot side, forcing Vulcan out of lane. This is going south for EG quick.
Oh, Vulcan does have flash. Razork, do you throw your Q in? He's not.
Nope, okay.
He's not gonna do it.
I'm surprised you don't just throw even your smoke
just
screen.
like for the sake of it.
I mean, you saw the ulti come down, so you know he's potentially somewhere around, but no, Razork doesn't go for it. He'll just end up backing instead. Let's take another look at how Fnatic found him again.
And it's what you called out as well, Flowers. Now it's Kaori who doesn't have that flash instead. He does still have the cleanse, but even then, it's not enough to get out of the situation, and Vulcan's so close to going down as well.
Yeah, the slow field from the Glacial Augment, making sure that even if you do cleanse, you still have a tough time getting out of the MissFortune ultimate with no flash. And then again, with the Graves ult coming over the top, it's so much damage from so far away. EG have to find a way to get a good team fight. I don't know how you do that at this point, because Fnatic should have, I think, the scaling advantage in a lot of ways. With the MF already on Gale Force, completed 2 kills. She feels accelerated. Viktor's very strong. It does feel like a tough position for EG here.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta give props to the way that EG are identifying that game plan, though. Like, they had a lot of members down towards the bot side. They almost found 2 kills when Humanoid TP'd into the mid lane instead. And had that happen, game would have gone a whole different way. But seeing as this is the reality, Jojo even having to flash away there.
I feel like every time we're panning to the mid lane, it's Humanoid taking control over the 1v1 and Jojo being forced to retreat. He's constantly on the back foot. Razork tries to invade now against Inspired. Inspired's looking to set this one up. Razork is low. Jojo's coming in, and Inspired gets EG on the board.
All right, overstep by Razork puts EG on the board. They find that shutdown kill pretty huge, getting the red buff onto Viego as well. Maybe now Inspired can start finding a way to disrupt these lanes that are all turning in Fnatic's favor. Mid lane turret dropped.
Mid lane turret goes down all of it collapses before plates are removed, so it's such a huge amount of gold for Humanoid specifically there in the mid lane. You can see the count at the top of your screen, 480 more gold because they got twice as many plates. Here's how Razork got caught though.
And you just think it's safe to go in here because Jojo got chunked out. He kind of expects them to just have backed away, and he thinks the Humanoid's going to be in a position to back him up. Unfortunately, that's Jojo's that's going to be there.
Jojo's there first, but I think it was also a really heads-up play by Inspired to target that blast cone. He stuns up Razork so he can get to the other side of him and hit the blast cone, because I'm sure Razork's thinking, well, if I'm in trouble, I'll just Graves dash to the other side of this blast cone and get out. So I think that was actually a really heads-up play by Inspired.
That's our MVP right there.
What do you mean? That's our MVP, my brother. Your MVP? You know, the meme image with the... You made this, I made this.
Exactly.
The only man to do it in both regions, as Upset feeling plenty comfortable down here in the bottom lane now. That 25 CS lead has largely disappeared. Razork going to take a little bit of damage there from Vulcan's ulti, but considering EG's bottom lane are 0-1 and 0-1, it's not too surprising when we look at the total gold. It's 3 Fnatic players topping the charts.
Also, with the fact that you have so much mid control from Humanoid, it does make it harder for your bot lane to even push aggro the way it wants to, kind of brain off AFK permashove. With mid lane already broken, with Humanoid controlling mid lane, it's so difficult to want to get that shove because they'll always have first move on Jojo.
And this is where you might see some Fnatic specials as well. They're not necessarily only looking for neutral objectives. You open up the mid lane, Humanoid can push it out, and you start invading enemy buffs instead.
Oh boy, World Ender versus World Ender. Impact flashes for the stun. Wunder continues running away. He will be able to survive there. Impact spends a flash to really not get anything but his opponent's flash out of it, so those will be traded back and forth. 10 seconds until the Drake spawns. No ulti for the Fnatic top lane.
And it's a minor thing, but I do believe that the blue buff was also stolen away by Razork, so they come in, they invade, they leverage their lane pressure. Well, actually, it's Upset that got it. Either way, they steal away these camps that EG actually has gotten for themselves that they would usually be able to get. So you have someone who gets pressure in a lane, you put that pressure elsewhere on the map, and all of a sudden, slowly but surely, you pick apart the pieces that EG has going for them. Now even just leveraging down on the bot side, picking up the turret, and might potentially pick up the Drake too.
Oh yeah, Fnatic making sure that Evil Geniuses are not able to stack any of those Drakes up. It'll be 1 for 1 there. Infernal Rift, so getting rid of a lot of that extra terrain here on the map. Lux Laser, I mean, honestly, just not getting a whole lot done there. And
Interrupted the recall,
lead,
man.
Fnatic's lead is 4,000 gold almost.
And I was going to ask you about that, because I feel good right now, Mark, but make me feel worried.
I can't.
Yes!
You guys are going to int it Baron.
That might be true. We saw Matt do it today. Why not do it twice?
Yeah, that looked fun. They
Yeah.
still won the game, and you should try it. Do it, Fnatic. You won't.
Now, speaking of Baron, it's not there yet, but Rift Herald still is. And now with the members being able to move around the map, both lane teams have actually put their bot lane in the mid lane to try and contest the push more efficiently with 2 members. But Fnatic is still the team with the lead, and because of that, they are the ones starting up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, you see EG not looking like they're really going to contest it at all. Doesn't look like they're going to move. Jojo is recalling. I think he has TP and could join in, but not the case. And for Fnatic, you know, they were the super team that came together. Felt like a lot of people were disappointed
Don't
with
say
their
that
play.
word.
Nah, super team. Greatest team ever.
It's a bad
ever
word here.
constructed. But I will say, they did seem to start peaking at the right time from the disappointing first regular season finish. And while third is obviously not what they wanted, that lower bracket run started to show signs of life of how good this team could be. And I feel like if you're peaking at Worlds, that is probably the time to do it. You can erase a lot of bad history of how your year went if you're able to have a good showing at the most important tournament.
I mean,
Absolutely.
We've seen it before so many times as well for the teams that would, I mean, EDG is one example as well, of course, where it's just like, well, who's really going to count them on? And all of a sudden they're in finals and they not reverse sweep, but take down one as well. So definitely, like, the entire track record you've had as a team can be washed away by having the success towards the end of the year.
And you can see topside here, Impact just having to back away. It's Fnatic with control over that second Herald. Remember, the first one was instrumental in getting that tier 1 turret in mid low enough to take it down, get all the plate money. Plates are long since gone here top, but this is going to be enough to force down the tier 1 in top lane. That is the last tier 1 turret now checked off by Fnatic. They are up to a 5,000 gold lead.
And this is why it's just so difficult for EG, because just going back all the way to draft, with the game plan they had and how you executed, you are so reliant reliant on being the one ahead, and even more so, reliant on being the team that picks up the Herald so you can actually move your bot lane around. And then moving it in further, you just don't have that much team fight prowess with your engage either.
No, it's going to be very difficult to punch through any of the front line of Fnatic. You don't have that incredible burst, really. If someone's really out of position, sure, you can do it, but if you're jumping on Eclipse Wunder, he gets that shield, gets some healing with his Qs, he can drain tank you, as we see, maybe.
Oh boy, flash into the stun with Everfrost. Blink and you miss it. Humanoid is out.
Humanoid gets caught on side. It's an old meme, but it does still check out. Apparently, EG down towards the bot lane, finally finding some ways back into the game, and this is what you need to look for as well, because I think a lot of teams, and specifically towards teams that struggles every now and then, that when they fall behind, they only default to still standard League of Legends to try and get back into the game, and that's just not going to work when you have the goal disadvantage going into fight objectives. You need to be creative and find pathways to get back into the game, so credit to Jojopyun and Inspire there for finding those creative plays.
Especially at Worlds, right? When these are the best teams around, when everyone does have fundamental understanding and control over the game enough to not just give you those freebies where you're saying, all right, well, I guess we'll just play it normal and hope for the best. I like to see them making these moves. I like to see them being creative. Evil Geniuses has relied so much in North America on betting on themselves and their mechanics. They're a team fighting squad. They will take close encounters and say, hey, we'll outplay, we'll make it happen, but they gotta at least make the game close enough to feel confident in doing that, and Fnatic still commands an impressive lead.
Yeah, EG are a very scrappy team. Their team fight coordination was what made them so good in North America. For Fnatic, you talk about the individual prowess, maybe not being always on the same page with their decision making. You maybe moved out of the comfort zone. This is the copium angle. Yeah, the laning phase, yeah, they're incredible. Side lanes, we're gonna pick them off.
Well, we'll see if you can continue doing that, because 40 seconds.
You asked for it earlier.
Well, yeah, sorry, you're right.
right.
You're just delivering. 40 seconds. Infernal Drake only would be the second one being stacked up here, but this is the kind of objective that if you want to not give them away, you're forced to go for a team fight. You can't look for the side lane.
And there's no real reason to give it away as Jojo jumped on.
Jojo gets jumped on. He's going to be exploded. The timing is terrible. 25 seconds on the Drake. He won't be alive in time for it. Evil Geniuses lose their mid laner at the wrong time.
They also get the teleport out of impact, so Wunder can just keep pushing up in the top lane. You're still going to be able to get this dragon while not even needing to commit him to it. Absolutely huge. I was just about to say, for EG, your comp doesn't benefit from delaying the contesting dragon, so I was hoping to see them fight that one, but Jojopyun with a big misposition just makes it free for Fnatic.
Yeah, interesting to see the pings as well here. Remember, Caitlyn does have an auto attack range that goes through the Baron, but I really thought that they'd wanted to try and cross map it at some point if they're ever looking for it, but it is just looks. Of course, with Vulcan piling in that one, and they're just looking for a cross map because they can't contest on the bot side now. They're looking for whatever they can get on the top side, but no one's really biting the bait.
And we were talking in draft about how, hey, MF Leona, it sucks early. You're gonna be feeling the pain. Caitlyn and Rhuckz want to run the entire game from the bottom lane. Hey, it's 3 kills for Upset and 3 assists for Rhuckz. It looks like the substitute support situation isn't too bad here for Fnatic.
I mean, that's the real Fnatic Academy there. If you want to make it to Worlds, don't bother playing LEC. Go to Fnatic Academy instead. It works every year.
I mean, now let's start up the hype machine. When Hylissang comes, should he come back in? No. Of course. I think for Fnatic, the fact that you are having such a good performance already, and knowing that, you know, one of the most important pieces for like how you approach the game. Hylissang just makes the game about his playstyle. You know, the fact that you're already winning without him is huge.
Yeah, but I mean, props to Rhuckz as well. He's been wanting this for so long. I mean, not just Worlds, but playing at the LEC stage as well. And now he's finally here, and he's really delivering. He usually was a guy that would be the shot caller, that would take charge. So my main worry seeing him be here was the fact, well, how are you going to be coming into a team filled with veterans, but you're also the guy who usually dictates or be a tall voice. Is there going to be anything conflicting? So far, it really doesn't look like it, and it's great to see a guy just step on a stage, fly to a different country on the other side of the world, and just deliver.
And in such an important game, too, when we're talking about this group and we're talking about how everybody's favorites for it are Evil Geniuses and Fnatic, getting that head-to-head advantage over them, taking the 1-0 here on day one, absolutely huge for the results and the consequences of the group stage.
Yeah, the consequences is the big thing. Yeah, number 1 gets out scot-free. The concern is also not just your own group, but Group B, how stacked that is. DRX, RNG, Mad Lion, Saigon Buffalo. You'll have to beat one of those teams most likely in a best of 5 if you are not topping your group. So this game is critical for these teams, one, to start the group outright, but then also to have any potential tiebreaker scenarios that might come.
Oh boy, my friends. Oh boy, indeed. Evil Geniuses are not looking so hot. 23.5 minutes in, 6,000 gold down, 1 Drake behind Fnatic, who have honestly just been playing some awesome League of Legends here so far. Wunder's feeling comfortable there in that side lane matchup. You can see he's already got his second item completed with the Black Cleaver, Gore Drinker plus Umbral Glaive for Razork. Everything seems to just be going Fnatic's way.
Yeah, and I feel like how let's say bold is Fnatic really in terms of elevating their lead? Because quite often, once again, they'll try and look for invades. Might not have to.
Oh boy, Inspired could be in a pretty precarious situation here. Yes, he is. Now we got even more problems. It's bullet time! Razork gets another, and that's gotta just be an easy Baron for the LEC team.
And I was talking about how they needed to look for a potential invade. Red buff is spawning in 10 seconds. Usually that's a point of contention you could go for, but Inspired and the rest of EG just walking into the river where it's just not their territory any longer, gifting them the kills, and in essence, also giving them the Baron.
Had his ult and flash available. That's why I think Inspired felt safe to kind of walk into that river, but just too much damage came out too quickly. The CC as well for Fnatic gets that pick off. No jungler. Easy Baron. Looking super clean for Fnatic this game.
And I mean, Razork just pops the sweep, but sees him coming in here. And if you don't start the ultimates, the flashes at this point in time, you're just not living. And then I think it's really good presence of mind from Rhuckz as well, just immediately spotting the EG bot lane to get another pick. Burn a few summoner spells as well from Kaori, getting out that cleanse. So still looking super good for Fnatic, and EG slowly but surely feeling the grasp of the game.
Alrighty, if it was bad before, it is hellacious now. About 9,000 gold is Fnatic's lead. Mark, are we in a spot where they can even come back through without a major throw from Fnatic, or is this going to require some sort of misexecution?
TB.
Oh no. Oh no, look away, North American fans. Just turn your heads a different direction.
I've never seen a teleport be responded with a teleport like that.
Yeah,
so
that's
It was a bold choice because they take the same amount of time.
Let's see how it plays out for him.
They take the same amount of time to complete. So you going second means that he's always going to show up first. And both members that have teleport have a way to interrupt you.
Exactly.
So very bold decision. We'll see how it works out.
Well, we saw. We've already seen such a thing. Impact at least getting the second turret of the game for EG, but it's immediately answered by Fnatic getting an even more valuable turret in the tier 2 bottom lane. That's both side lane tier 2s gone now. Fnatic still have Baron for another 90 seconds already, plus 2,500 gold on the play.
30 seconds, Infernal Dragon, you're just like, you're just completely taking over the map before. If we thought River was dangerous territory for EG before, their own jungle is just not theirs when Fnatic get out on the map on resets, but now Impact looking for a flank.
Okay, Inspired goes in, Wunder's your target here with a start, but he flashes away. EG, no matter what they try, they can't get a thing, and Fnatic is just walking circles around them.
Couldn't even half health Wunder or Razork during that kind of trade when it was you with the flank going in on them. They didn't commit too many ultimates. It was basically just Impact and Kaori, but you can see how difficult it's going to be. This is what I was talking about punching through frontline. Yes, it's a bigger gold deficit than I was expecting, but it is difficult in straight front-to-back team fights to try and kill these somewhat tanky members of Fnatic.
Okay, bullet time just to zone the EG players away there from the turret. Make sure that their attention is focused squarely there as Razork takes Soul Point for the side of Fnatic. One more Drake and Infernal Soul's gonna make this game even scarier than it already is for the Evil Geniuses. Rhuckz goes in, can just walk right back out. EG, they know they're so far behind. Their moment has to be perfect. Their engage has to be spotless.
And that's the thing right now, having that Leona ultimate is at least something to look for, but even then, if you get upset, he still opted in for that cleanse.
Yep.
Fnatic, being intelligent, playing on 2 lanes, Baron still active. You push in mid lane, you move the rest of the members down, but you keep the pressure going.
Fnatic will move on to their second tier 3 turret of the game now. The Baron is gone, but what's it even matter when you're this far ahead? Wunder spreads his wings, moves forward with a World Ender. Jojo tries to jump in, but Jojo has just not found much of anything here in this game. Kaori barely gets away. He'll survive with 200 HP, but Fnatic will use this momentum to take mid inhibitor, bot inhibitor, and most of what's left of EG's hopes.
Fnatic looking so good in their first game. It was a very dramatic, tumultuous week for Fnatic fans. You saw, I feel like every single day, a front post Reddit page, of just Fnatic roster update. Who's gonna make it? Who's not gonna make it? Everyone talking about how they always feel cursed for Worlds, but seeing them now on the stage, most of the team there, knowing Hylissang is on the way soon, they have to be feeling a big sigh of relief.
It's just like, what about Hylissang? Are you the best player in the team? Oh, he's not even the best supporter in the team. Obviously, that's a joke, and Hylissang is incredibly gifted. But I think now as well, just looking at the map state, 2 inhibitors down, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You just move up towards that top side, you keep the pressure going. At this point in time, Fnatic should just be taking the game.
You could also go stay in your base for the next 20 minutes. You don't have to go top lane. That would be my my pitch.
We are taking.
See if you can infiltrate the comms.
Guys,
A little bit of a huge huff of the NA copium there as evil geniuses are, well, 5 digits behind. We'll just leave it that way. As Fnatic, they don't even need the Baron. They're going to push this up. They know they got the pressure elsewhere. They try to go in with Inspired on EG's side, but it just doesn't matter. It's too much money, and they're beating them to death with the wallet. Double kill back over to Upset. Fnatic get 4. This game's over.
first fight between EU and NA goes Europe's way. Fnatic slap EG down. They're on the board as well.
That wasn't a fight. That was an absolute beatdown. Fnatic, they answered the pressure in the bottom lane. Humanoid constantly had Jojo on the back foot. They got the angles. They found the plays. They worked together. And Rhuckz showed up like he was ready to go from moment one. Awesome game from them.
And I appreciate it, gentlemen. It was good sport. It was a good game as well, specifically for the early game. I just wish that if EG had more in the tank to actually respond in the mid to late game, it could have been more tense, it could have been a little closer, but once you go for that small win condition that has to work in the early game, and it doesn't, unfortunately, then it just runs away from you.
And I think League of Legends is a game sometimes where the smallest things can make the biggest... Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely the angle I was going for. The smallest things can make the biggest differences. And if I'm EG, I'm looking back to Vulcan's aggro flash in the bottom lane where he went for the binding. It ended up just being an absolute airball. And then as soon as Leona's level 6, adios Lux.
Damn, EU's got hands.
We do.
EU's definitely got hands. We're heading back over to the State Farm analyst desk to see how those hands were applied to EG.
Great.
Hang in there, Mark. We got a lot of games ahead of us. Still lots of room to go. But let's be honest, that game wasn't close. EG just got smacked around by Fnatic.
We waited like 90 minutes for that?
They got completely smacked, man.
What was that?
I mean, Fnatic, I do like that they kind of called out how early it went wrong, right? And we saw that focus towards the bot lane. But man, that's all Fnatic needed was, a single summoner spell to be blown, and they could capitalize.
I feel like especially when you look at these drafts, right, and you look at EG specifically, where it's like, okay, Caitlyn, Lux, and bot, you have Renekton up in top side, so 2 lanes that you want to win. If this comp falls behind, it's so hard to be able to, like, enter onto Dragon, push into an enemy jungle, just do anything. So the fact that Fnatic were able to find that 2v2 kill very early on, I think made it really hard for EG to do anything.
Yeah, in so many ways, this EG composition aligns with our perception of the development of the meta, right? This idea that you'd have maybe some strong side lanes that you can play, from mid towards, get some leads and run over people. But it also then puts such a degree of a requirement of execution for you that you cannot make those little bits of mistakes. You need to build a lead with Lux Caitlyn. You need to have impact play better than he did in that matchup.
Yeah, I really hate this draft for EG. I really like it for Fnatic, actually. I would say, like, both solo lanes, Viktor and Aatrox, will be able to get prio, so the only way that EG can play is specifically through bottom lane. So they kind of all end on that early, but as soon as that goes away, they now have 3 losing lanes and worse scaling. So I think it's really bad. And Fnatic did play very well in the fact that they sacrificed early like they needed to, but then as soon as they hit level 6, they attacked the flashless Lux, and they just never let EG back into the game after that point.
Especially massive props over to Rhuckz. Again, coming in, stepping in for this Fnatic team, and then having a great performance on the Leona. Worked super well with Upset and set him up to be the massive carry that we saw for Fnatic. Sure, coming in, we said, hey, Razork gets a lot of the work done early, but it's always been Upset who was the major carry for Fnatic.
Yeah, and so, how good it must have felt to have him land in Mexico City just yesterday and able to play in this game, because up until that point, they were expecting to play with 2 subs and not just the one.
He was literally just laughing.
Yeah.
Because he embarrassed EG. Like, this was embarrassing for EG, what just happened.
I mean, look at look at the damage numbers. EG barely touched Fnatic.
So with the 0-7 lower third break, you guys?
Now wait, hold on there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually 0-7 against EU teams now for EG. I mean, we talked about how that little voice back of your head, and now you've dropped another game, and it's to a different EU squad. Like, that is definitely going to be something that weighs on them. And so, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what all the takeaways are for EG. I do wonder if that was kind of a test case for, like, is Kaori somebody, is bot lane a place that we want to continue to try and play around or not? Again, Rhuckz feels a little peculiar to me.
You early pick Caitlyn, so you have to play through bottom lane, but then you also pick Renekton, who is now going to be a weak side Renekton. You're never stacking waves, you're never diving, you're not outscaling. It's questionable, Dash. It's
very questionable. Very questionable. But we talked about Rhuckz stepping up and setting up Upset to be, or rather, the pop-off player in this game. He picks up the 1+ player of the game for his performance on the MF. Steps off of a plane yesterday, comes in here, and just does EG dirty.
And it just seems like, again, they understood their win conditions so well. We saw early on EG dedicating those 3 members down towards the bot side. They back off, sure, they're losing some waves, but they know the second they have those key abilities online, they'll be able to play. And then in the mid game, just rotating him from lane to lane and kind of being that artillery piece that EG would have wanted Caitlyn to be. Upset did it perfectly.
I don't really know what other takeaways there are from this game.
I mean,
like, I think we all expected this game to be closer. Yeah. So now I'm just kind of reeling from my own expectations.
I got some troll excuses.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so you can be the judge.
All right.
Am I trolling or do I believe this?
Okay.
Scrims are overrated.
Well, they are. So I think
so
that,
you actually think
believe
real.
that. Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
Wait, are you not going to tell us if you believe that or not?
I mean, was it real?
You're just going to leave it out there. I mean, I was going to say, you did preface it by saying, I have some troll takes, which does make me think that they're all troll. But I actually do think that scrims are overrated to a degree.
To get off the plane and go into the game, right? It's an advantage. Every team that's had more players in the isolation rooms have won.
Oh.
Was that an advantage?
2 for 2.
2 for 2, you know, you never know.
I hear that the next game though has no players in isolation. So
well,
what happens then?
It's a fair fight.
Then it's a real coin flip.
So who's going to win now?
All right, well, we'll find out soon enough. After the break, the Heart of Brazil takes on the Miracle Run gods of the PCS when Loud battles against Megabank Beyond Gaming. We'll see you there.